Hi, Ange. Just
Hey, mate.
a squad update first, if you would, please.
Going off last weekend, Mikey Johnston, he picked up a bit of a ankle sprain. It's nothing too serious, but it will keep him out for a little while. Everyone else got through okay. Josip Juranovic is available. He's back training. He missed the last couple of games, and that's it. I think the others, Josker Deguchi obviously is not registered, so he won't be available. But everyone else is okay, mate.
Just in terms of Bodo Glimt, I know a club that you spoke about before and admire. I just wonder your thoughts on where they are at the moment in terms of their pre-season. Whether you think that could bring its own advantages in terms of match sharpness and whatnot for you guys to capitalise on.
Yeah, look, it's always an interesting one because there's both positives and negatives. I think the fact that they've got the same manager, they play the same way. Yes, they've lost four players, I think, from their sort of lineup from last year, but have replaced them almost like for like in terms of the style. So I don't think. Sometimes in pre-season can be a bit disjointed. So I don't think that's going to happen. And what we've seen of them in the pre-season games and scouted them, they still look a very good team, and it'd be a good challenge for us. Yes, we are match fit and we're in good condition. So I'm hoping that is an advantage, particularly later on in the game. But at the same time, you just got to prepare as if they're going to be a good challenge for us, and we're preparing for them to play as they did so well in Europe earlier in the season.
Thanks, Ronnie. Luke Shanley.
And just on that then, how impressed have you been with them in the European competition this season, because they've had some notable victories?
Yeah, very impressed. Not just the results, because obviously, from my perspective, I like to look at football through a little bit of a different prism and see how teams play more than anything else. And yeah, their football's fantastic. Not just in Europe but domestically as well. And they've got a really exciting young group of players that have bought into this style of football, and it's great to see, because I think there's often in all leagues around the world, even here in Scotland, sometimes we talk about teams with lower budgets and playing a certain way, but you don't have to, you don't have to, you get the right manager in, and, you get them to sort of, believe in something and work in a certain way, and you can play that kind of football. I obviously coming from Australia, it's something I believe in strongly. So, impressed with their results, but more impressed in the manner in which they play their football.
Given that it's been a few months since your last European game, how, with new players in and players coming back, how much are you relishing this different sort of challenge?
Yeah, looking forward to it. As you say, obviously we haven't played a European game for a while, and Europe gives you that opportunity to play against teams who play a little bit differently, have different approaches. When you play away from home, it's different conditions, all those kind of things. So I love those challenges. I know the players are looking forward to it. And look, European nights at Celtic Park are always special. So all those ingredients means that we're all really excited about the game. I'm sure our supporters are. I know the players are, and with the way Bodo play as well, I think it'll be a good game.
Excellent. Martin, BBC.
And I think we all know the style you want to play. I just wonder, do you have to tinker that at all for Europe? Because it is slightly different from the domestic game.
No, I'm not the tinkering type, mate. I think people have seen our approach. They saw our approach in Europe already. We played some pretty good teams. Leverkusen, what are they, third in the Bundesliga, and Betis third in Spain, and people saw the approach we took against them. And our goal is to be a team that plays, this football against all opposition. Now that's obviously means that we need to keep improving. But I thought we saw that. To be fair to our European campaign, we ended up winning 3 games in our group, which we didn't really struggle. I mean, we started obviously. We started a bit slowly, and particularly when we played Leverkusen here. We played some good football, but also realised that at that level you get punished for the smallest of mistakes, and it gave us a real good realisation of the difference that we needed to make in our game. But we didn't change our approach, and we won't change our approach.
I think one thing people would look at from that Europa League campaign was, you won some significant games as well, but maybe goals conceded. You're talking there about getting punished. Is that something that you have to focus on, not to allow that slackness that might come in at times?
Well, it's not. No. That I think that's kind of painting that's misrepresenting the picture of our group, because it's not slackness that concedes goals against Bayer Leverkusen. It's quality. There's a big difference, and like I said, we started our campaign. We lost narrowly in Spain against a team that's currently third in La Liga, above some pretty significant teams. And then we lost, obviously, 4-0 here. And through that, we realised that, our football, we can create and score goals against good opposition, but also that our mistakes will get punished. And that mistakes they weren't from slackness. It's just the difference in quality. But I thought, Ferencváros no mugs either. And we beat them home and away, and then we beat Betis here. Again, we lost to Leverkusen, but we scored goals against them. So I think for us, what we saw through that, that sort of group was that we definitely improved. The players gained belief, and we showed that our football, can make an impact against even the very best teams.
Thanks.
Gabriel?
Hi Ange, we just spoke to Georges there. He was talking about going deep into the competition. He was even saying that there's no reason why you shouldn't dream big, dream about going all the way because you designed the squad to dream big. Is that the way you see this competition as well?
Yeah, look, I think, that's what you compete for. That's why you are in these competitions. I mean, otherwise, what's the point? I mean, I'm not really sure what other sort of motivation you'd have in playing these games. I mean, I guess you could look at it as a learning curve or a progression curve or something, use them for some kind of experience. But again, I think that's wasting an opportunity that's before us. What's before us is, we're in Europe, we're in the knockout stages, and if we get past a very good opponent first up, we'll get another good opponent in the next round, and you just got to tackle each opponent as it comes. But every competition is there to be won by someone. So, I don't think, 16 or whatever teams left, I don't think there's only 5 of them that think can win it or want to win it.
You'll certainly be trying to progress through to the next round. Obviously, you've got your first leg at home. Is it important to seize the initiative, make the most of the atmosphere at Celtic Park, and try and take a lead over to Norway where, it's going to be a tough atmosphere, tough conditions there?
Yeah, look, I think that's European competition in general. I mean, we've already experienced it. The Michelin game obviously didn't go our way, and we kind of knew in the second leg, they had the advantage of extra time to score their goal because it was a tight contest. We didn't take advantage here at home. We played well, but then we got a red card early on, and we kind of paid a price for not getting our dominance. AZ was different, and AZ were a good side as well, and I think we performed really well here, which gave us then the opportunity to go to a difficult away game and still progress, even though we didn't win. So, I think there's elements of that you need to take advantage of what happens in this first leg. But at the same time, you always know that unless there's a blowout in score, which is probably unlikely, that the second leg is always going to be important anyway.
Ronnie Esplin?
Hi Ange.
Hey Ron.
You were obviously unhappy with the first 45 minutes performance at the weekend. Did you get a reaction from your players in training? Were you looking for a reaction from them?
Yeah, look, I think I got a reaction in the second half as well. And it wasn't a kind of reaction from me. It was just more, I think the players themselves were a little bit frustrated and disappointed that, that's not the way we want to play our football. So, we did our review, we gave feedback to the players, we showed them, the areas that, we didn't maintain our standards in, and they clearly understand that. I think they probably felt that. I think probably, the thing that I got frustrated about in the first half was that the players already know these things. They could have addressed them themselves, and it's about I really want them to take ownership of that. They shouldn't wait for me to come in at half time to address stuff that's, pretty evident that we need to do better. They can address those things out there themselves. And I want them to be a team that takes ownership of our performances while they're out there. So, but our training's been great. To be fair, it's been great for quite a while. We've had an extra day here, so obviously having most of the squad fit now and available, competition for places. Training's it's probably the best level it's been all year, which is pleasing for me, because it means that if we can maintain that kind of sharpness, then having that a sort of flat first half like we did on the weekend hopefully becomes less likely outcome.
The Bodo coach this morning was saying he hopes his players get energy from the Celtic Park crowd tomorrow night. Can you tell us a bit about the benefit your players will get from a packed house at Celtic Park?
Well, we've already seen it. We saw it in the derby. We've seen it in other European nights. Our supporters and how our players respond to that. They're a major part of the atmosphere created. Obviously at Celtic Park. More importantly, they play a real role in providing energy for intensity for our players. Our players love it. And they know that. European night, for some of them it'll be their first experience at it, but the ones who've had the experiences already, they know it's having the crowd behind them, the whole spectacle is going to be special, and that hopefully helps us to play at a really good level.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie. Cheryl?
Ange, you just mentioned it slightly there about the more experienced players helping the ones who haven't experienced European football. Is that the type of game, for example, Joe Hart, who seems to really have taken on that type of role, where he can really play his part? Yeah,
I think so. Having said that, I think what I've tried to sort of impress upon the players is that they can all play their role in that. It doesn't sometimes when you just sort of fall back on he's the experienced guy, he'll do it. Well, Joe sometimes is not involved in our games a lot, so he can't be the influence. So then it's up to other players to take that, and obviously with Cal and others. But as I've always said to the guys, leadership can be shown in many ways. It can be shown by the youngest player in the team if they make an action or do something that inspires the rest. So it's about everybody taking ownership of it. I mean, we saw that again in the derby. We had 2 or 3 players making their debuts, and they lifted the team themselves. But certainly I think in the build-up, the experienced guys like Joe and Cal and Tommy Rogic, these kind of guys, Nero, Biton, they can help in sort of making sure that everyone's mindset's good. But once the game starts, we need 11 leaders out there. We need 11 guys who are going to want to make an impact.
The Bodo Glimt, they had some impressive results in their group, but none of them, they didn't get any away wins. Is that something that plays into your mind as well?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, getting an away win in Europe's not easy, even for the best teams. It's part of the challenge of Europe. That going away from home is difficult, because not only you're facing opposition fans with different conditions, different different pitch, everything's a little bit of a challenge. So it's not easy. The fact that they didn't lose away from home is probably more significant. Shows that they've got a really strong mentality, strong character within their team. So from our perspective, like I said, we're preparing to play a very good side, and one that's probably got a lot of confidence from their sort of European exploits so far.
Thanks, Cheryl. Andrew Milne. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Ange.
Hey, Andrew.
Ange, we've seen the atmosphere of Celtic Park on these big European nights. The place is bouncing, and the players, not just your team, but the previous managers of the teams, always responded to the crowd. And home and away this season in the league, the support has been amazing. But do you think on Sunday, with the stadium only half full, that it did affect the players in the first half?
Look, potentially it could, but again, it's one of those things that I want to try and eliminate. A bit like refereeing decisions or our schedule or injuries. It's just all these things you can sort of use as a clutch for not doing certain things. But I think the things I was talking about on Sunday in the first half should be givens irrespective. Even if we're playing in a local park just amongst ourselves, that bringing that right intent, the work ethic, that bravery and courage that I want in our football, we shouldn't have to rely on our crowd to create an atmosphere that brings that. That should happen, because sometimes, in a derby game, maybe it's easy to do all those things because the crowd's behind you, everyone's up for it. Well, that's not what the best teams do or the best players do. They bring it every time, irrespective of the conditions. So I'm reluctant, and I won't make allowances. And I did make allowances for our performance in the first half, just because maybe the atmosphere wasn't at levels we've experienced before. That to me is no excuse.
Yeah, and Ange, you've built almost a brand new squad of players with only a few from the last manager's time. But on Sunday, when times were a little difficult and you were frustrated in the first half, but at one stage you were about to take Callum off the bench. So, how important is to have Callum and maybe one or two other players who have been here before, who've been here for a long time? How is it important to have them when the going gets tough?
Yeah, it's important because, Callum and some of the others, like I said, there's not many, but who have been here, understand the relentlessness of this club. Sometimes when you're a new player, even if it's your first year, even if you've been here for 4 or 5 months, you can fall into the trap of just thinking that, this game we can just maybe coast through, or this game, isn't, like you said, because maybe the atmosphere is not right, or the opponent, or the pitch, or whatever. We don't have to be at our best, but you can't at this football club, because what we know is that anything less than a victory in any game, in any competition, and any weekend is not acceptable. So there's a relentlessness there that the new players need to get used to. That never changes, and that goes not just from game to game or through the season. That goes from season to season. Last year's success it doesn't guarantee you anything the following year. You've got to roll up the next year and outperform those levels again. That's part of this football club. So Callum understands that. He knows that. He's lived and breathed it for the last few years. And what you hope develops is this insatiable quest and thirst for continued success, and excellence. And sometimes that's better sort of explained by people who have lived it longer. And Callum is certainly one of those.
Thanks, Ange, and thanks for the journey so far.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Andrew. Hamish.
Hi Ange, last week we spoke to your former captain at Brisbane Roar, Matt Smith. He described
Matty Smith. How's Matty Smith? Is he? Yeah, he is a good guy. He is. Too nice to be a centre back, let me tell you. But he's a nice guy.
He described playing out from the back under you as being, quote, petrifying until it became normal. You've obviously spoken a fair bit, I think, about not liking the feeling of being comfortable, and your players not really wanting them to feel comfortable. Are there benefits to you in putting players out of their comfort zone, and the players improve more as a result?
I think it's the only way you improve. I mean, I'm constantly on at the players about that sometimes, people will say, well, that was a perfect training session, no one made a mistake. That kind of sends a signal to me that maybe the training session wasn't challenging enough, I'm constantly talking about players not being in their comfort zones, because comfort means you're doing something not automatically, but something that is not really testing you, and that's why I'm constantly talking about improvement of us as a team. When people say, well, how much improvement is there in the team? So, well, there's always improvement, because once I see that players have got to a level where they can do something or excel in something, then my job is to test them again and make them uncomfortable. And, when you're uncomfortable and you make mistakes, it probably means if you persevere and, hopefully we provide an environment where we give them the tools to eradicate those mistakes, then you improve. But there's no point in me saying, well, we've been really good at playing out from the back, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. No, well, there's other layers to it. And, for us, you saw that on the weekend we had possession, we had comfortable possession, but it wasn't the possession we want to have as a team. We want to. So that means for players, I'm almost forcing them into making mistakes, and the reality, no one likes making mistakes, because when you make a mistake, then there's repercussions. And what I'm trying to show them is that, provided they're trying to do the right things, there won't be any repercussions from me anyway. But that's how I think you get improvement.
And just secondly, I think it's pretty well known that you like to keep your distance a little bit from the players. You don't go in the dressing room too much before matches. What are the benefits of that approach for Celtic? Is it to create leadership naturally? Is it more discipline?
It's just me, mate. It's just, I've always said that you've just got to be yourself. And even when I talk to young coaches, young managers, don't try and copy anyone else. Don't try and do what I do. This is just a natural fit for me. And I think the dressing room is just my belief. That's the players' domain. It's the players' area. They should be in charge. They should feel comfortable in there. They shouldn't have a 55 or 56-year-old cranky guy walking around telling them that they should pick their rubbish up or change the music on that they're playing. So it's about giving them their space. They're preparing for a game. I don't want to get in the way. I've done my bit during the week. My role then on game days to do other things, and even during the week. So that's just me. And like I said, it suits my personality. I've said before that most important thing I do on a daily basis is make decisions. If we're going to be successful, I've got to get more decisions right than wrong. The best way to do that is to get as much information as possible, but to also remain as objective as you possibly can. And every player in there and every staff member knows that I treat them equally with the same respect, have the same care and love for them all. There are no favourites, so they understand that, and that allows me then to make decisions that I think are best for the football club and best for us moving forward.